Welcome back to another week of the Farm to Table virtual series. This week's topic is holiday treats. Now I know what you're thinking. There are a lot of different sweet treats that go along with cooking and baking around the holiday season. But this week I am focusing on two sweet items that will be incorporated into Eileen's recipe, which you will see in a video next Friday. So today we will be talking about honey and cocoa. So first we will be talking about honey, but before we can talk about honey, we must first talk about what makes the honey. So bees. There are three primary members of a honeybee colony: the queen, worker, and the drone, and they all have different responsibilities. So the queen has the responsibility of laying thousands of eggs within a colony. The queens are the only female honeybees with fully developed organs. As larvae, they are fed a substance called royal jelly by the workers. This substance is produced from the throats of honeybee workers. The queen-to-bee larvae are fed this substance throughout their life, which allows them to grow much more quickly than the larvae developed into workers. The queen is fatter and longer than the worker, but more slender than the drone. Next, we have the workers. Workers clean the colony, regulate temperature within the colony, and forage for food, feed the queen, larvae, and also protect the colony. So workers are more slender and shorter than the queens, and they have barbed stingers. They usually cannot lay eggs. Lastly, you have the drones. Drones are the worker males of the colony, and the primary purpose is to mate with the queen. Drones are darker than the workers and much more hairy. They have no hairs on their legs, so they can't collect pollen. Their eyes are very big and comprise of the majority of their head. Drones do not have ovipositors, which is the egg-laying structures, so since they are males and they cannot sting. Why are bees so beneficial? So honeybees are important to both society and the environment in various ways. So first we're going to mention pollination. Honeybees are important due to their ability to pollinate flowers. Pollination is the process in which the bees go from flower to flower in search of nectar and pollen. Each time they land on a new flower, they transmit the pollen to the ovaries of the female flowers. Honeybees pollinate over 30% of human food crops and 90% of flowering plants. This results in almost a $15 billion worth of crops each year pollinated by honeybees. And of course, the delicious honey. But how do we get this honey? So when honeybees collect nectar and other sweet deposits from flowers and plants, they store it in a special stomach within their body. They go back to the colony where they process the stored nectar and mix it in with the other chemicals in their body. Honey is the result. They store the honey in different cells within the colony and use it to feed the larvae. This is another reason why honeybees are important to society since humans exploit the beehives for commercialization of honey. Honeybees produce over $150 million worth of honey each year. So how to harvest honey? So after removing the honey super, which is a box placed on a hive with frames of comb to collect honey from the honeybee hive, and bringing it to a location protected from the bees, you can begin the extraction process. So a hot knife is used to cut the wax cappings off the cells of honeycomb. These wax cappings can be used to make candles, so don't throw them away. Once the cappings have been removed, you can begin to separate the liquid honey from the comb. A honey extractor, either electric or manual, uses centrifugal force to separate the liquid honey from the comb without destroying the comb. This allows the beekeeper to reuse the frame of empty comb in the honey super. Alternatively, the honey-filled comb can be cut out of the frame, crushed, and strained through cheesecloth. The resulting beeswax can be used for candles or other projects. After extraction or straining, the liquid honey is allowed to settle for a few days in a closed container and is then ready to bottle. Next, we have a gift from the gods, cocoa. So back in the day, although no one really knows exactly where the first person experimented with turning the beans from a cacao pod into an invigorating drink, there is a linguistic evidence that the ancient Olmecs of Mexico prepared chocolate. By the 8th century AD, the Maya were carving images of a cacao god on ceremonial bowls. The Aztecs later, the dominant culture of Mexico, considered cacao a gift from the gods. So from archaeological evidence, it is clear that the natives used cacao in a wide variety of drinks, gruels, porridges, powders, and probably solid substances. So today we have a mini use of cocoa. We have cocoa powder, dark chocolate, milk chocolate, and white chocolate. So cocoa powder is basically defatted chocolate. A cacao bean contains an average of 53% cocoa butter, which is a natural fat. Cocoa butter content is reduced by nearly half, creating a cake that was later pulverized into a cocoa powder. Dark chocolate. Good quality chocolate has a higher percentage of chocolate paste and a lower amount of sugar. So with the increase of popularity of dark chocolate, many bars contain at least 60% and often 70 to 80% chocolate paste. Today, milk chocolate is the most popular chocolate in the world. Milk chocolate contains less chocolate paste than dark chocolate and therefore does not have as strong a chocolate flavor. Lastly, you have white chocolate, which is made from cocoa butter, milk solids, sugar, and vanilla. Some white chocolate contains no cocoa butter at all, and only vegetable fat and sugar are added. How is cacao harvested? So after 2 or 3 years, a cacao tree produces rice-sized flower buds and clusters along its trunk and main branches. The unscented white to pink flowers are pollinated by a tiny gnat-like midge. On cacao plantations, only 3 out of 1,000 flowers are pollinated, fertilized, and progress to fruit. Cacao trees flower throughout the year, simultaneously producing pods in various stages of ripeness. From pollination to ripe pod takes about 6 months. Cacao is harvested as it has been for centuries by hand. The trees in omnipresent blossom clusters are extremely fragile and easily injured. After locating a ripe pod, a worker will either pluck it by hand or remove it with a sharp knife at the end of a pole. The harvested pods are taken to processing location close to the trees. Each fruit is opened, usually with a machete, so the pulp and the seeds can be removed. The seeds are surrounded by a fibrous whitish pulp that must be fermented off before it can be roasted and processed. Following fermentation, beans are spread on sunny platforms to dry. There they are raked or turned several times a day for 3 to 5 days. Sometimes drying is accelerated with oil or wood-burning rotary dryers. The sun drying produces the best flavor. How it's prepared. So by the Aztecs, so back in the day, although the earliest use of cacao has been traced to Maya and Aztecs, the recipes for its preparation have come from Spanish colonizers. So one of the earliest descriptions of native grinding and drinking of cacao comes from writings published in 1556 by a man known to scholars as the Anonymous Conqueror. So he states, "These seeds, which are called cacao, are ground and made into powder, and other small seeds are ground, and this powder is put into certain basins. And then they put water on it and mix it with a spoon. And after having mixed it very well, they change it from the basin to another, so that a foam is raised, which they put in a vessel made for that purpose. And when they wish to drink it, they mix it with certain small spoons of gold or silver or wood and drink it. And drinking it must open one's mouth, because being foam, one must it room to subside and go down bit by bit." It's also been stated that the drink is the healthiest thing and the greatest substance of anything you could drink in the world, because he who drinks a cup of this liquid, no matter how far he walks, can go a whole day without eating anything else. So today, when it comes to making chocolate and other chocolate or cocoa products, there are usually 4 stages. So first is mixing. Sugar and cocoa butter are added, and usually lectin are an emulsifier derived from vegetable fat. Extra cocoa butter keeps the chocolate solid at room temperature and causes it to melt at mouth temperature. Evaporated or powdered milk is added for milk chocolate. The ingredients are mixed in a round machine with a rotating base until dough-like. Refining. The chocolate mixture is passed through a series of huge rollers to reduce the particle size and create a very smooth material. Conching. This machine, named for its resemblance to a shell, agitates and heats the chocolate. As it is aerated, the chocolate develops its flavor and becomes velvety smooth. Inexplosive chocolate may be conched 4 to 12 hours. Premium chocolate for 3 to 7 days. At this time, cocoa butter and flavoring are added to improve texture and taste. And lastly, tempering. The warm chocolate is stirred and gradually cooled in large kettles, but remains in a liquid state. This process stabilizes various crystalline compounds in the cocoa butter. Thank you so much for joining me today. Here I have a list of the sites and resources that I used for this presentation. As always, stay tuned for Eileen's video next Friday. She has a tasty holiday treat for you guys. And again, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me or Eileen. I have our emails down at the bottom of the screen. Thank you so much for joining us, and I hope you have a great holiday season. Bye.